Recording in progress.
Test.
I'd like to call meeting to order. Notice for today, please stand and join me Pledge allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Cho,
Present.
Councilmember Lowe,
Present.
Councilmember Shepherd Rami, Vice Mayor Wong,
Here.
Mayor Tall.
Present. The agenda is posted 72 hours prior to each meeting at the following locations: City Hall, the Kroll Public Library, and the Stoneman Building. The agenda was also posted on the city's website. City welcomes public input. At this time, the public may address the city council on matters that are not on the agenda. Pursuant to state law, the city council may not discuss or take action on issues not on the meeting agenda. To ensure that everyone, including those joining us remotely, are able to hear all speakers clearly, please speak directly into the microphone. Please note that comments will be limited to 3 minutes and will be timed by city staff. I'd like to now ask City Clerk Walker to explain how public comments will work.
Thank you. For each item on the agenda, there will be time for public comment. We will accept comments in 3 ways. First, we will take in-person comments for each item. Please fill out a speaker card and turn it in to me if you wish to speak on an item. There is a countdown timer displayed on the projector screen to help speakers keep track of their remaining time to speak. We will then ask for comments from our Zoom participants. When we ask for public comments via Zoom, there are 2 ways you can let us know you would like to speak. First, you can use the raise hand feature, which is a button that's found by clicking on raise hand on the bottom right of the screen. Please do not use this feature until we have asked for public comment, or else we may not see it or know which item you are asking to speak on. As a second option, you can send a message using the chat box saying you would like to speak on a particular agenda item. Comments will be accepted only until the end of the public comment period for that item. Comments will be accepted only in, Please keep in mind that if there are technical difficulties with Zoom, the meeting will proceed as normal. The city will do its best to resolve any technical issues as quickly as possible. I will then read into the record any public comments received by email for that particular item. Due to technical limitations associated with gathering, printing, and sorting emailed public comment, the city has instituted a 3 p.m. cutoff the day of a Wednesday city council meeting for emailed public comments. This is to ensure there's sufficient time to gather and present the emailed comments at the city council meeting. Any comments received after the 3 p.m. deadline will be included in the public comment record, but will not be read at the meeting.
Thank you, City Clerk Walker. Does anyone here in the room care to speak at this time?
We do have one speaker request card from Peter Chang.
Thank you and welcome.
Hi, good evening. I never been here. This is my first time. My name is Peter Cheng. I live in this city since 1995. Until now, it's about 28 years. But the reason I willing to come here today, because this morning when I listened to the radio, 10:70 a.m., they say tomorrow gonna be very windy, and next week it might start raining, and Edison might gonna be shut down the power 80 location, and no service. And I would like to come and some comment to the city San Marino. In the 28 year, I never see our city have all utility go underground yet. I would like to bring to be concerned if you can have all utility, especially power line, go underground. The reason here is global warming. Our weather is windy, rain, and hot, and this and that. And I think it's time to consider to go underground. And the problem right now I have is in my house, my own house. I have the tree at the backyard at the corner of the lot. And power pole Edison have the power pole next to my tree. And in the past 15 years, I have the problem the way the tree trimming. They come to trim the small within 5-10 minutes and they leave. And right now I talked to the city officer from July until now. I don't get the answer yet. I just wondering is tomorrow is it windy and then the trunk go down, hit the power line and cause fire. And my neighbor say, Peter, your tree is causing the fire. No, that's what I end up with. And since we talk about this, a second thing is internet. Internet right now is one of our life, right? We use internet. It's the internet we improve in the city of San Marino because of look like speed very slow. That's what I would like to have a chamber consider. And then if the chamber can help me, God bless me that tomorrow is the first fire in my because in my house, I have all the house, the house drop, from my neighbors, 6 of them go to the pole, which pass through my property line. I never charge Edison for the fee, All right. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you for your comments. Does anyone else in the room care to speak at this time? Seeing no one, does anyone online wish to?
We have no requests online.
Thank you. I will close public comment. Do we have a city manager's report?
Good evening, Mayor. Yes, just a few brief items this evening. Given that we only have one meeting in the month of November, I wanted to take the time, if you'll indulge me, to highlight a few things. Just this past week, we had quite the eventful weekend here in San Marino. If several of our community members were joining us for our fire department centennial celebration, it was a wonderful event commemorating 100 years of service of the San Marino Fire Department to our community. We wanted to thank all the community members, the council members that came out to this event. It was a wonderful way to really show how your tax dollars are hard at work for you and your community. It was beautiful. And we also, all of our department heads had the pleasure of joining the San Marino Chinese Club and so many residents, community members, civic leaders at their Mid-Autumn Festival. It was one of the most beautiful events that I've seen. Our vice mayor was emceeing the event. We had such a great turnout for one of our biggest nonprofit partners here in town that does so much. That night, they even donated $20,000 to our $10,000 to our police department, $20,000 to our fire department. So we're ever grateful for their contribution and the role that they play in our community. This next slide, it's going to be a picture, but again, I know many of us are attending, whenever it comes up, I'll talk about it. We were attending Monday night, a great discussion on mental health and the unhoused. This discussion, the reason why I highlight this is it's recorded and available on the city's website for anyone that's interested to watch it, also translated in Mandarin. Our police chief did a wonderful job moderating a session with some great professionals and experts in the field of mental health, our local service providers, and we took some great questions from our community members. So I really wanted to thank the council for providing direction to us as staff to really tackle this issue in San Marino. On the next slide, I wanted to highlight the city council's priority initiative is up and running. I wanted to draw the community's attention to our community calendar. Please send your submissions in and get this wonderful tool up and running. We have it up on the website. I don't know that we've received many submissions quite yet, but I just wanted to put a plug in for it now and keep reminding the community that this is going on. And I know that our Commander Tebbets is excuse me, it's not Commander Tebbets, it's Miss Tibbet, our community engagement manager. Both of them, cousins, they're not, have reached out to our organization leaders. We're reaching out to our block captains. We're reaching out to our school district. We're really trying to get the word out about this. It was in our weekly briefing. So please take us up on this great resource. Next, I wanted to highlight here, we have a vacancy we just found out about this morning. Our Vector Control Board representative for the city of San Marino, Scott Kwong, his term will be ending and he is not seeking reappointment. So we scrambled to try and get this before you this evening just so we can start a appointment process and get this up for some candidates to be before the city council for consideration. Please visit our website and apply. If you visit cityofsanmarino.org, you can apply at the top link. It's there, and applications are due on November 30th, with the city council looking to make an appointment on December 13th. Next, I wanted to highlight, as all of you know, or if you don't, Veterans Day is this weekend, and it is observed in the city on Friday, November 10th. One of the things that means is our code requires that there be no construction activity on Friday, the day that it is observed by the government agency, as well as on Saturday. So this is a message that we're trying to let the community know. Please be respectful of the holiday and those commemorating Veterans Day. If you have not seen it, around town, we have flagpole, light pole banners that are all around town commemorating many of our veterans and current soldiers. And throughout the week, we have been posting on all of our social media accounts some wonderful little bios and photos paying thanks to all of our servicemen and women. It's a beautiful effort. Please go out and visit our war memorial that has some of our great heroes listed on there. But that we just wanted to highlight and really send our thanks to our veterans this week. Last but not least, home for the holidays. I mentioned this tonight because this, again, we do not have another second council meeting in November. We have an amazing event coming up Friday, December 8th from 5 to 7 p.m. just across the street here from City Hall. We'll have the mayor's reception and tree lighting. The holiday house in its newly designed form will be out there. Thank you to all the volunteers working on this year. And one of the most important things that I wanted to highlight, shop local. In our community with all of our businesses, we have so many great mom and pop businesses, so many great restaurants. We may not have quite as many as our neighbors, but please go out there and keep your tax dollars in San Marino. Support our local businesses, whether it's the toy and bookstore, whether it's meat and essentials down the street, Julienne's, you name it. Please go out and shop local and support your local businesses this holiday season and buy your gifts locally where you can. Mr. Mayor, thank you for indulging me. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Philippe. That was very informative, and we should probably really push out the information regarding no construction on Friday. And if we can, use Nixle or any other device that we can, social media, because I'm sure people don't appreciate that fact. Let's see, motion to waive further readings. Do I have a motion and a second to waive further readings?
So move.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd Rami, Vice Mayor Wong,
Yes.
Mayor Tall.
Yes. Presentations, Family Court Awareness Month, November 23rd. I understand Elaine might be online. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so let me go ahead and make the proclamation that this is the Family Court Awareness Month. Whereas the mission of the Family Court Awareness Month Committee is to increase awareness of the importance of a family court system that prioritizes child safety and acts in the best interest of children. And whereas the mission at the FCAMC is fueled by the desire to create awareness and change in the family court system for the conservatively estimated 58,000 children a year ordered into unsupervised contact with abusive parents, while honoring the hundreds of children who have been reported as murdered during visitation with a dangerous parent. And whereas the mission of the Family Court Awareness Month Committee is to increase importance of the empirically based education and training on domestic violence and child abuse, including emotional, psychological, physical, and sexual abuse, as well as childhood trauma, coercive control, and post-separation abuses for judges and all professionals working on cases within the family court system. And whereas the mission at the FCAMC is to educate judges and other family court professionals on evidence-based peer-reviewed research. Such research is a critical component to making decisions that are truly in the best interest of children. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of San Marino does hereby proclaim November 2023 as Family Court Awareness Month, and call upon the citizens of the City of San Marino to support efforts to prevent the harm of children in the hands of family members and to honor and value the lives of children. And this is actually critically important, given that the City of San Marino had a tangential relationship to a child that was killed as a result of his father's actions, actually at my office building, when he took the child from a speech clinic and ultimately took him up to Ventura County, I believe it was, and or no, it wasn't. Took him into South Pasadena, and lost his life. And so this still sits very, very close to a lot of people in our building. And so I appreciate the effort. Elaine, are you there?
I am here.
There she
Hello.
is. Elaine?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hmm.
Hello.
Sorry, Elaine. Well, on behalf of Elaine Farrell, I will be accepting the proclamation and we will send it on to her, if you will. But thank you, Elaine, for
Can you hear me now?
all the work that you do and your committee does to bringing this to the attention of people and helping educate our judges and others about the importance of protecting our children, especially in these sometimes very dangerous situations. Public hearing to consider adoption of ordinance number 0-23-1409, first reading, adding municipal code section 2305.03 regarding development standards and objective design standards for multi-family residential development projects in the historical and cultural zone. It is, let's see, this is a public hearing, yes. Director Figueroa, do you have a presentation?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, esteemed council members. In March 2013, the City Council adopted an ordinance amending the Historical and Cultural Zone Ordinance to clarify language and accurately reflect the activities conducted by the Huntington Library. One of the land uses identified as permissible within the amended ordinance includes housing, specifically residential privileges for employees. However, the Historical and Cultural Zone does not contain any development standards or objective design standards to regulate any housing projects. Additionally, the city's adopted housing element has identified the Huntington Library as a site to accommodate housing to meet the city's original housing needs allocation requirement. Staff has prepared an ordinance to establish objective design standards to impose these standards on residential projects in the Historical and Cultural Zone by adding Municipal Code Section 230503. Examples of the proposed site design standards include requirements for building siding, building design, parking, and requiring circulation patterns consistent with city standards. The proposed architectural standards require articulation in roof lines and wall planes, a variety of materials, minimum illumination levels, and landscaping requirements, and minimum square footage for outdoor space. On September 27th of this year, the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing to review and take public comment on ordinance number 0-23-1409. The Planning Commission unanimously voted to adopt Planning Commission Resolution number PCR 2313, recommending that the City Council adopt ordinance number 0-23-1409 with revisions to correct formatting and numbering errors and include definitions for both walkways and pathways. Staff has incorporated the Planning Commission's recommendations into the draft ordinance. The draft ordinance will ensure orderly development for housing development projects proposed within the Historical and Cultural Zone. Staff recommends the City Council conduct a public hearing and introduce for first reading ordinance number 0-23-1409. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you, Director. Council Member Lowe, do you have any questions?
Oh, yes, just some. Well, basically, I think, I support the commission's decisions. I think having an employee housing in Huntington Library will help retain good employees, and also it meets RHNA numbers. I understand, but I just have some basic information questions, so some clarification. So this design guideline, the ODS, is the same, basically the same as under SB 35.
They're the similar path, but these were created specifically for the architectural, to respect the architectural integrity of the Huntington Library. Similar, but specific for the Huntington Library.
And just for residential only. So there's
Only residential.
There'll be no commercial or retail.
No, only the activities allowed under the historical and zoning ordinance are allowed in the Huntington Library.
And this is only restricted.
And this is only restricting for housing.
For the employees.
Correct.
Use for the residents of that building.
Correct. Correct.
Not open to outside?
Well, there's
Is
two
there
things,
some
there are two things. There is the housing that the Huntington Library could propose for employee housing. And any housing that could be allocated, that could be built pursuant to the housing element, which would be for low and very low income. We don't have an application for either one, but it could be for those, or both of those instances.
And so, and for the common areas, you know, because I saw any
Correct.
project over 10 units, you require to have some,
Correct.
and their open areas will be only limited to that, the residents in that building only, of course.
Correct.
Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilmember Cho,
No questions.
Councilmember Shepherd Rami.
Thank you. I do have a couple questions regarding this, and just for clarification. My first question has to do with the lot coverage. I think it's dealt with on page 29 of our agenda packet. And it speaks to 60% is a common standard for lot coverage for multifamily projects. And I take it that that's based upon what the city previously adopted regarding. So how does that, I didn't understand how that applies to the Huntington really, because Huntington at 200 acres and spacious gardens and everything else that make it such a phenomenal asset in our city. I'm just wondering whether this is really relevant to their, I would hate to see it even in some future have 60% of the area developed. So is the lot coverage the same, or why are we bringing that percentage forward into this unusual situation when we have, you know, a world-renowned library, gardens, and art collections and a limited amount of housing there? I'm fully supporting the project. I'm just trying to understand why this was in here.
Essentially, you want to control the amount of housing that you can have on the project site. So this would be specific to the project area. I do think we should probably make that more clear, though, to include project area as opposed
Thank
to the
you.
entire site.
Right. So that's what it just didn't translate. I think that's what you were trying to say in order to ensure we have 40% of it is open area and that type of thing. But I just want to make sure that we're really specific about our terminology. The other is in our report, just immediately above that, it talks about a 30-foot height limit, but in the ordinance itself, it reads on page 34, the height is 35 feet. So I just wanted to know,
It's
what is the intention?
35.
It should be 35 throughout. All right. So then it's incorrect in our. And the last question is a general one. It kind of has to do with the site design, I guess, and that starts on the top of page 30, and it also is covered on page 34, where we talk about building entry and buildings within 10 feet of the public right of way. My understanding is the setbacks from the neighborhood in that particular district area is larger than 10 feet. Do the setbacks, for example, for housing apply, or is this an exception?
Sorry about
And
that.
will any of the buildings be 10 feet off of the main
No,
roadway, if you will?
They wouldn't be that close to the roadway.
Okay, so it's not an issue. But do the setbacks of the neighborhood apply, or are there different setbacks?
Never to the district.
They're the district
Yeah.
setbacks, okay, do apply to this
Yes.
project, and they are in conformity with
Correct.
that. Okay, and my last question has to do with carports. There's carports mentioned here, and on page 36, which is part of the ordinance itself, and I don't believe that we allow carports unless we do specifically for multifamily. Is that now a new thing?
So carports are not allowed. However, carports would allow the project to meet Title 24 requirements. So one of the ideas is in terms of architectural integrity, specifically for the Huntington Library, is you don't necessarily want to see solar panels on the roof lines. How you could remedy that is by having carports and have the solar panels on top of those carports. Carports wouldn't be visible from the right of way, so they would be hidden. It would also provide shade for the cars, because typically you would either have underground parking, garage parking, or open area parking, or open area parking is typically how you accomplish that. But this would assist the Huntington Library to have parking that would generate renewable sources and not have them on the actual roof lines.
And so is that something that's specific to this
Specific to
project?
historical. It wouldn't be
And
allowed
this-
anywhere else.
Okay, I just want to make sure because it is kind of an issue. Not that I think we may be going in that direction generally, even for city vehicles, hopefully sometime. So I'm not against it. I just wanted to understand whether this is outside normal parameters and still R1 is not carports. And that this is an exception again to achieve some environmental goals that Huntington is setting for the project.
You're absolutely correct. This would not be applied to anywhere else other than the Huntington or historical and cultural zone.
Thank you. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
I don't have questions. Thank you.
I have one question and I'll save my comment for later. In the ordinance, page 49 of 383, page 18 of the actual report issue, paragraph 7 talks about use of turf. And the maximum area permitted for turf shall be 60% of the total landscaped area.
Lawn, not artificial turf. So we can change that to be more specific.
Yes, I think it would be, but the maximum area permitted for, let's say, grass or ground cover shall be 60% of the total landscaped area on site. Might be problematic if you can include the entire.
I think this is going back to what Councilmember Shepherd Romey was talking about in terms of being specific to the project site.
Right.
So we can go back and make sure that it is specific to the housing project site, not the entire Huntington Library grounds.
But how do they go about defining what the building site will be?
Well, it's in terms of the project area encompassed in the project description. So we could tie it into the site plan.
What are the limitations on that? I mean, could they identify a site plan that is an acre,
Yes, 2 acres,
2 acres?
3 acres,
Okay.
whatever is necessary to encompass that project.
And why would we limit the area, the maximum area permitted for turf? Why would we limit?
Watering.
They have their own water.
In part, yeah.
In part, I mean, it just, I mean, don't they have their purple pipes? So
They do.
they don't?
This was.
See, no. You have your own well. But
We could eliminate this, but again, this is consistent with all the other standards that we apply to residential and multifamily projects.
okay, it just seems when it's applied to our only property in the historical and cultural zone, it gets a little lost. So we have to be careful. Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you, Director Figueroa. Does anyone in the building have any? I'm going to open it up for public comments. Does anyone here wish to speak about this item at this time? Seeing none, is there anyone online?
There is not.
So much easier, doesn't it? Okay, I'm going to bring it back for comments from council, recognizing that this is a first reading. Councilmember Lowe, do you have any further comments on this?
No further comments.
Councilmember Cho,
No further comments.
Councilmember Shepherd Romey.
My comment is just, I am excited about the project. I think it's positive for the city. It's positive for the Huntington, or they wouldn't be doing it. But also that this could benefit us as a community is great, as well as I think it's very thoughtful and would bring people the ability to study there and work there and live there. So thank you for bringing this forward to us. And I think with the changes, I do think the use of turf is a problem terminology wise. Also, some of the concerns that the mayor has, maybe we're going to even say natural covering and or something, but we need to think about this. I don't know how we could do it without, because this is something we need to Right, since it's a public hearing, this is the first time. I don't know how it can be changed, but a modest change in at least correcting terminology in a couple of these areas should be minor enough that it could go forward. Is that correct to our city attorney? Sorry, it's a question.
So the notes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the notes that I have taken are that we need to add a definition of project site and confirm that and make sure that the objective standards tied to lot size or entire lot are instead changed to project site. Once we have that definition in here, and then clarify that turf does not equal artificial turf. And with those changes, I think that we would, there's enough direction there that we could bring back a second reading.
Good,
Yes.
okay.
So that was my other comment concern, but thank you for clarifying.
Vice Mayor?
Oh, no, I don't have any comments. Thank you.
I just have one comment, and in this also, hopefully, I wouldn't think would blow the opportunity to bring it back. You know, when people could get very lazy, the title of this is Section 230503 Standards for Multifamily Residential Development. I'd like, if it doesn't blow us the ability to have the second reading, add in the historical cultural zone. I recognize that 2305 is only the historical cultural zone. However, if people search our code, they may come up, you know, just a Google search, they may come up with this and say, hey, look, I could build multifamily residential development and not look at that. If we were to add in the historical cultural zone, would that be acceptable to have us go forward? I'm getting a shake of the head.
Yes,
Yes.
that
Okay.
would be fine.
I'd like to also see that. Being that we've heard all the comments, I will entertain a motion.
I move to waive full reading and introduce by title only ordinance number O-23-1409.
Let me, I forgot something. I need to close the public hearing. I close the public hearing. Go ahead. There are rules. I just have to follow.
I don't know where I was, but anyway, everything, an ordinance of the San Marino City Council adding San Marino Municipal Code, section 23-05-03 regarding development standards and objective design standards for multifamily residential development projects in the historical and cultural zone.
I second that motion. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd Rami.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wong, Mayor Tall.
Yes. The motion passes. Let's move to item number 2, consideration of appeal for approval of conditional use permit number CUP 22-05 at 2277 Huntington Drive to determine the parking requirement at a proposed restaurant El Dorado. Let's see, Director Guerrero, Figueroa, pardon me, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, esteemed council members. The appeal before you this evening is in regards to conditional use permit 2205 for the determination of required parking for a new restaurant at 2277 Huntington Drive, which was filed by the appellant, Mr. Hector Gutierrez. On August 23rd, the Planning Commission adopted a resolution to approve a conditional use permit to determine the appropriate parking requirement for a restaurant El Dorado and a conditional use permit for a type 41 alcohol license for the on-site sale of beer and wine. The tenant space is equipped with a commercial kitchen and indoor dining space. 6 different restaurants have occupied the tenant space where El Dorado has been approved to operate, with the most recent restaurant suspending operations in 2022. The appellant provides 4 general contentions for filing the appeal to conditional use permit 2205 parking determination. Number 1, the appellant states that July 26 staff report has a number of omissions, discrepancies, and fails to disclose material facts, namely missing information and conditions from the original conditional use permit for the commercial building, incorrect labeling of addresses or uses in the staff report, and the failure to mention the proposed use of wood burning cooking processes. The staff report prepared by staff provided an analysis based on the information available to staff at the time, which included the information pertaining to the previously 6 restaurants approved by previous staff since 2000. Staff has been unable to locate the 1989 conditional use project file for the shopping center. The approval for this project followed a similar approval path that Starbucks undertook to allow the establishment to operate a restaurant there. After the July 26th Planning Commission meeting, staff met with the appellant, who provided staff with documents pertaining to the 1989 conditional use permit file. However, none of the documents included the adopted resolution. Staff appreciated the information provided by the appellant after the July 26th Planning Commission meeting, which is attached to your staff report as attachment 6. Based on all the information available to staff, staff proceeded to present a resolution for adoption to the Planning Commission, who unanimously adopted a resolution approving a conditional use permit to determine the appropriate parking requirement and a conditional use permit for a type 41 alcohol license for the restaurant. The addressing for the commercial building is confirmed to be correct, since the appropriate assessor's parcel number was provided for the shopping center, and each unit is assigned a unit address number. However, the unit number for the Starbucks was mislabeled in the July 26th Planning Commission staff report, but not the El Dorado unit, which is the project location. The July 26th Planning Commission staff report did not fail to disclose the restaurant proposes to use a wood-burning cooking process. The staff report included the restaurant statement of operations, which identifies wood fire rotisserie chicken as a main course meal, and that the production of a custom-built oven is proposed. Reason number 2, the appellant cites missing documentation of previously conditioned eating establishments in the July 26th staff report to the commission. The staff report identified a few of the restaurants that previously operated out of the same tenant space El Dorado proposes to operate from. However, staff provided a historical background during the staff presentation to the Planning Commission. Reason number 3, the appellant contends the parking analysis in the staff report to the commission was not adequate for a large restaurant. In accordance to the zoning ordinance, a conditional use permit in accordance to the parking standards is required if the indoor seating area exceeds 25% of the total gross floor area of the business, which is the case for the project. The Planning Commission is the authoritative body in determining the appropriate parking requirement and/or if a parking study for the aforementioned is required. Based on both the on-site and off-site parking available, the Planning Commission determined that adequate parking exists to support the restaurant, as it has supported the previous 6 restaurants, and it did not require a parking study. Reason number 4, the appellant states that both conditional use permit 8928, the original shopping center CUP, and conditional use permit 9422 Starbucks conditional use permit make references to specific types of food sold. The documents provided by the appellant identify a number of uses proposed for the commercial center, which included a number of food-related uses, but only one restaurant, which was a gourmet deli. However, none of the documents included the adopted resolution outlining or prohibiting any uses. In 1994, Starbucks received approval from the Planning Commission to operate as a restaurant. El Dorado followed a similar path as Starbucks and received approval from the Planning Commission on July 26. The San Marino Police Department reviewed the project and had no major concerns for the project as it is proposed. Only one concern was listed, which was the potential for minors to gain access to alcohol if outdoor dining was permitted. The adopted resolution contains a condition to mitigate that concern. Staff recommends the City Council affirm the adoption of Planning Commission number PCR 2308. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff is available for any questions.
I have down that we're to allow the appellant to speak and then the restaurant owner to speak before we open it up for questions. Should we go ahead and do that, or questions from council, or should I ask for questions from council now?
I think you can go ahead and ask for questions from council now of staff.
That makes more sense to me. Okay, Councilmember Cho, do you have any questions concerning this issue?
Just quick understanding on process. So we're talking about approved on July 26, 2023.
Planning Commission approved the project on July 26th. They adopted the resolution on August of this year.
Okay, and then since from then until now, it's just kind of getting on our calendar. Is that?
Yes.
Understood. Thank you.
Councilmember Shepherd-Rami.
I had a question, or have a question, excuse me, concerning the historical, the documentation of the previously conditioned usage, and I don't see in the staff response. I did not even know that Glorious Gourmet or Gourmet Deli Shop was there, and I've lived here longer than this list. But do
Get
any
out
of, the-
more.
I really should. Obviously, I miss the Glorious Gourmet. But I'm wondering, did any of these have an alcohol sales or
Not to our,
permit
not to,
or service?
not to our knowledge.
And then the other was, a part of the issue has to do with a wood burning oven. And are these any of the prior uses by these? Did they have any, other than the commercial kitchen that's built there, any, I don't know how to say, different types of cooking method or anything different
The
that you're
previous,
aware of?
the previous use did have a commercial kitchen, which indicates that they obviously had dine-in service. I don't have any knowledge of the type of kitchen material that the previous businesses had. Some of these do look like they didn't have a commercial kitchen per se, but the last use did have one.
Did have one, right? And Starbucks does not, though because they get their food brought in prepackaged from
Right.
another location.
They probably just heat it there, but they don't have a commercial kitchen.
Right, okay. But there is now existing a commercial kitchen already there.
At the tenant space, yes.
Councilmember Lowe.
Some question, and as much as I would love to see a good business coming to town serving our community, I also just have some concerns about the parking. So that doesn't impact our residents because how it's set up, our business corridors just right along residents. So out of this 5,000, I know this unit is about 900 square feet. And so this restaurant, is it mainly dining or mainly to go? Because it's 11 to 7 p.m. So I'm thinking, this is a dining type of restaurant or?
It's both. The dining area is not that big, but because it exceeds the 25% threshold, it does require conditional use permit for determining parking.
Yeah.
The project proponent is here. They can answer those questions specifically, but it is our understanding that most likely most of the business is going to be from a takeout nature.
So for takeout, falling into this takeout type of right. What's the parking ratio requirement for takeout or for dining restaurants?
For a restaurant, it doesn't matter. For restaurant is 250, one for 250.
And then for to go,
Same
there's
thing.
same thing.
Yeah.
So 1 to 250. So for this restaurant, then you just need to add another maybe 1 or 2 if that's the
Right.
area that.
But
designated
the only
for-
thing is that we look at the entire shopping center,
Right.
not just one unit.
Right. So so by adding this doesn't impact because there's 20 parking and now this is an additional restaurant.
Right. So in theory, it doesn't impact it because you had a previous restaurant, so the use is not intensifying.
Right.
It's the same use. However, because of their exceeding the threshold for dine-in, they had to go to planning commission. And again, planning commission determined that the off-site and on-site parking is adequate to support the restaurant as it has supported previous restaurants, and it didn't require a parking study.
And as I read, so their employees are not recommend not to park. of course.
Correct.
And where did they usually park on the Sierra Madre, that section of parking where?
It could be on the Sierra Madre section. It could be also on public parking, in public street parking if they can find it. But our contention is that they use Sierra Madre.
Starbucks, of course, there's a lot of takeout.
There is,
And then there's a lot of people in and out all the time, and adding this, because this is it will be a pretty good business.
Meeting with the appellant, that was one of their concerns, is the parking that has been generated through Starbucks. And so one of the things obviously we would like to do is to increase patrolling there with code enforcement. However, it is difficult to catch that because it's, they usually park, go. Some do stay longer. That would be easier, but it's usually
The hours
catch and go.
is till 7 p.m. only, so
Correct.
that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor.
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
We're only dealing today with the COP regarding parking, right? They've waived their appellate rights or they waived any rights on the alcohol issue. Is that correct?
The application was strictly for appealing the CUP for the parking.
Okay, so we're just dealing with the parking. And as I understand it, we have several options, including just deciding to uphold the commission require a summary of evidence, request a public hearing, or refer the matter back to the planning commission. That's all we're deciding tonight.
Correct.
So I just want to make that clear. The, in the consideration of the parking, because I know at Starbucks, there are some people that park, along Sierra Madre in that parking lot out there. Is that considered part of the parking area for?
No, that's
for
public parking.
consideration? Let's see. And you have been able, and this may be more of a legal question. I know that there were restricted, or when it first was passed, the permitting for the building, the construction of the two buildings, there was a list of permitted uses, which included things like gourmet deli, health food store. There was a long list. However, does that preclude us from allowing any other uses, or can we or the planning commission allow a use that's not on that list?
So,
And I will answer my own
Sure.
question. I think you've done it before on this building.
Yes.
Because you mandated so that's not a problem though, is it?
So one thing is that we don't have an actual resolution that actually captures what, if any, prohibitions were made at the time. However, if that list were part of that resolution, it does include all the allowed uses. Starbucks was not, Starbucks with the operation of a restaurant was not part of that. However, they came back with a separate CUP. El Dorado did something similar, which was its own CUP. So we're not amending the uses in theory of what can go in there. We're just specifically addressing one use, which is the restaurant.
Okay, so, but that is not, so you did not find any resolution that stated that these are the only
Correct.
uses, but we've seen it referenced in the past
Correct.
hearing. I saw the appellate record, and it looked like that someone had mentioned that Starbucks didn't fit the definition, but they went ahead and allowed it anyway and said that they would not necessarily add it, but allow it for that instance.
They would allow it through their CUP mechanism, which is
Okay.
similar to this one.
Yeah, that was a little confusing and things aren't, there's, pages, I guess, of faxes and so forth. That I don't know if they were incomplete when they were given to you or incomplete when they were given to the appellant, but it makes for a more difficult read, but I think that's why I have those questions, and I appreciate it. Okay.
I do want to say that the appellant was obviously one, we appreciate their openness to provide us all these documents.
Oh, yeah.
Which seem to have been provided by previous staff, which is the same staff that had approved all of the 6 previous restaurant uses.
Yeah, I saw Aldo's name
Okay.
pop up. And that must have been with respect to the issue concerning increasing what could be served at Starbucks.
Right.
Okay, I will move on to giving the appellant and the restaurant owner an opportunity to speak. You will be limited to 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes, I'm sorry, I'm limited to 5 minutes. And you could either use it all up or save some to rebut anything that the restaurant raises. Council or staff will be timing it over there. So the appellant must, yes.
Well, good evening. Thank you for having me here. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you guys have a very busy schedule and I know this is a volunteer position. So what I want to say is the elephant in the room is where is that CUP 89-22? Really? I mean, I'm getting a lot of this from the staff is like my dog ate my homework. Well, when I went to school, they gave me an F for that. So I really think that when they approved some of these restaurants, they did it under a conditional use permit. And so that conditional use permit, when that business ceases operations, the next business would also have to continue with that same process. Now, I'm hearing a lot of CUPs that were done for this restaurant, but it wasn't technically done for this restaurant. What it was is for parking, and that's all it says. That's on the public letter that was sent out to everyone. It specifically said parking. It didn't say anything about it being a restaurant or that it would be in conflict with the existing CUP that was passed with the existing building. Now, the references that I made are to the original CUP, to the building, came from the staff. And so I don't know how, but the staff members do not want to recognize the fact that these actually exist, even though they're actually time, facts, dated documents from the city. They themselves send them out. So they, at one point, considered them to be valid. And so that the commissioners that went ahead and accepted the terms for El Dorado were handed a staff report that was faulty. And really, I'm asking you not to approve the CUP 2205 for the mere fact that they did not have all the information. They did not have all the information. And before this can continue, really, we need to find that information. We need to find that information because it's important, because this CUP was really made for the community. That builder made a promise to the community. I will build this building, and these are my conditions. I understand thousands of hours went into it from the community and from the commissioners and everyone to put this document together to make sure that we had something to protect the businesses, to protect the residents, and to protect our community as a whole. So for those reasons, because they did not have all the information, in addition to a parking report that I have done that was done pre-COVID, that consistently said that there was 1 to 2 parking spaces available at that same location. That same location has 2 large anchor tenants, 1 Starbucks, 2 UPS. And so in this post-COVID parking analysis, I can tell you the people from the office will come back. All those offices that continue along that shopping strip, those people will return to the office and need spaces. The decision that you make today will affect them in the future.
I think you should stop.
Okay, and I will stop for now. Thank you.
Okay. Mark that time. Would the restaurant owner like an opportunity to speak at this time? Go ahead and state your name.
Hi, hello, how are you?
Good evening, Jonah Zuniga, my wife, Maria Franco.
Nice to meet you all. We're from El Dorado. I did read some of the information from the appeal. This was applied for because it is considered a large scale restaurant due to the percentage. It's 32% versus what small scale would be 25%. A lot of the wording did state things about the amount of seating that we actually had in the restaurant. It talked about having 8 seats or less, and then that would be considered a small scale restaurant. Our restaurant will be about 8 seats or less. There's not much room in there at all. Almost everything will be to go. It will all be packaged to go. So people will be encouraged to take their food to go. Another thing is it also in some of the CUP, I don't know the exact one, I can't remember. I'm not the greatest with public speaking, but it did talk about one of the conditions. They did allow yogurt shop / takeout. Our restaurant will be takeout. So it does fall under that condition. I don't know if there's any other questions.
We will not be asking your questions.
Yeah.
Unless
I'd like to see
someone
those
would like
things.
to, no, I'm not going to open up
Okay.
the questions to council at this point.
Okay.
You have 3.5 minutes. if you
I'll
want-
wait just in case
you'll
of
reserve.
anything. I do want to say, actually, sorry, for Starbucks and UPS, we have been there many times at the restaurant where we do see where people, they park, they leave, they park, they leave. For the most part, there's usually a lot of parking available in the front on Huntington Drive and behind us. There's not, I've never really seen all of the parking spaces taken to where people will have to use the residential side. So, and ours will be very similar. They're going to come in, pick up their food. We get a lot of phone orders. So they would be phoning it in and picking it up. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
For your time.
Yes,
Councilmember
yes.
Lowe does have a question.
So is this your only location where you have other restaurants?
We have a current location. We've been in Pasadena for the last 7 years. Yes. And it is a much larger location, and most of our supplies and everything will be coming from Pasadena. We will not be doing a lot of it's going to be different. Here is going to be a smaller, just the cooking and putting out the food, all the prep, a lot of the other things will be done in Pasadena.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
They reserved 3 minutes. They're close to that. So the appellants have, yeah.
Mayor, do you want to see if there's any other public comment so that the appellants can rebut the public comment as well, if they wish to?
No, that's a good idea, Joe. That's why you get paid the big bucks. Okay, so we're gonna stay your presentation, and I'm gonna open it up for public comment on this item. Does anyone in the room, there won't be anybody, wish to speak on this item? Okay, thank you for embarrassing me, Joe. Is there anybody online?
There's nobody online.
Okay, thank you. We will get back to the rebuttal process. Did you know that was going to happen? We'll get back to the rebuttal process. Gutierrez, do you have anything further to say on this issue?
So the only thing I want to add is that this is a wood burning process. It's their kind of like major thing that they do. That's what they're known for. And that's great. But I mean, I love a campfire, a good campfire, but to have a campfire from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., it's a little excessive. And I don't think a lot of the surrounding businesses realize that. I know that there is processes in place that they can supplement to do that, but I don't see any conditions made for that either.
Linda Gutierrez. I just want to say that it is takeout. They said it was takeout, right? They said there was parking available. But if they're going to do that takeout a lot, and then there's going to be no parking available. So please keep that in mind. We're not even talking about the trash, right? Because as far as the staff member is, the tenants can figure it out. So keep in mind, there's the trash that we have to deal with, the homeless that would want to eat those chickens that they throw out there. So that's like a big thing. The coyotes, the rats. I mean, we are talking about this small space. I cannot believe we're here talking about this small space to have this type of restaurant.
We're here because
Please
you guys
consider.
appealed it, but.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I can't believe I'm here talking about this in this small space with UPS and with and Starbucks. So I'm blown away that I have to do this. And yet no CUP has been found. I do not like the lack of integrity of that, just to let you know. Thank you.
Okay, just in time, Linda. Would the restaurant care to respond to that? And if you could respond specifically to the fact that you may be required by the county with respect to any pollutants that you produce.
It is wood fire, and then we do understand that it does produce some smoke. It's not it lowers and higher depending on the time of the day due to how busy we are. But it is, yes, 11 to 7. It doesn't, I mean, from our restaurant in Pasadena, all we hear is that it smells delicious whenever they walk into our restaurant. I will tell you that. No one has ever said, oh, that wood smells horrible. I do understand that it's a concern. The other thing about the trash, our landlord has our trash picked up every single day. Our trash, we will be prepping and taking care of the majority of our items in Pasadena. Our staff there will be prepping, and we will bring that here prepped. So there will be trash, but it will not be an excessive amount like a regular restaurant that preps and does everything in their same location. So I do want to say that the trash does have a lid. It will be closed. It is locked. So coyotes, other items will not be there. We do have a fumigator. The pest control is taken care of by our landlord also. So I don't see the concern. I feel like this is a family-run business. This was always my father-in-law's dream to have a pollo a la brasa. And this is our second location, and we are extremely proud. And it kind of saddens me that a community member would be so upset by someone else really trying to live their dream. So I just wanted to present that, but we'll do our best, and we will go by whatever you decide that you want from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I will close that portion. We've had public comment, we've had the appellant speak, and I'm going to ask council if they have any further questions for Director Figueroa. Councilmember Cho.
Yeah, I think I need a little bit of clarification here on the CUP. My understanding is from ordinance and zoning, it's commercial, and then we have permitted uses, which then break down to retail, whatever it is, restaurant. So can you shed more light on why beyond that retail or restaurant, the missing CUP we're talking about plays?
Sure. So one of the contentions is that the center is restricted to a certain amount of uses. And one of those is that because it's not listed, restaurants essentially are not allowed. However, staff has allowed 6 restaurants since 2000. In what capacity, we don't know. There's no CUP file, and we tried finding it both in-house and in our storage facility at Stoneman. We have not been successful in finding that particular file. The only file that we found was the Starbucks, which is similar to this one. So staff has taken an established land use that has been operating since 2000 because we understood that they were going to expand the dining area. We require them to file the CUP for determination of parking and for the alcohol, since they wanted to sell alcohol with their meals. So the expansion based on the dining required a CUP. The use is already established.
So aren't those usually attached to the final permit for the building upon completion? The restrictions?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Shevarami, do you have any further questions?
Yes, thank you. In our packet, I'm looking at page 61. It refers to a 1989 staff report. Under section 4, it says the appellant states about the CUP, the original for the building, and the CUP for the Starbucks make reference to specific types of food and a limitation to, you could see the list here: confectionery or candy, cookies, donuts, gourmet deli, health food, ice cream shop, yogurt shop, takeout. And underneath the list, which is fairly low prep and low work and low trash, if you will, and low emissions, it says all food preparation must be of a takeout nature. So I'm assuming that was from the all that's here is from a staff report. That's the one that's attached, and that was what was
it's from
in
all
1989.
it's from the information provided by the appellant that was contained within a memo, not a staff report.
It was not a staff report.
Not that we're aware of. It was a memo.
Okay. In a memo regarding the Starbucks.
Regarding the original commercial shopping center by staff.
Okay. And then all of those past uses that you list on the prior page, 60, that have been there, those were takeout? Or had they had fewer seats?
They've been dine-in.
Dine-in with,
A few have been dine-in, not all of them, but a few have been dine-in. The last 2 for sure.
okay, with 8 or less seats.
Correct.
They're in the
Well,
small
I can't
restaurant
confirm the
category.
seating, but there were considered small
Because of
restaurants.
space, the
Right.
25% or the number of
Correct.
seats. All right. And then I did have a question regarding the wood burning process, because I know this also came up in regards to Mission and the pizza ovens there. My understanding is they have, and again, I know nothing about the restaurant business, except to dine and enjoy it, I will say. So I would be very excited to have another one here in town. So that's all good. But there was concern at that time when the pizza project was coming in because they have a certain kind of oven that requires them to capture, and it may be a fire. I don't know. And so I'm looking to you. Is there something special again that's going to go in to limit the output of the wood burning like there is in the Mission project, just because they're unusual, especially given the nature and the location?
I'm not familiar with the Mission
Okay.
oven.
Oh, it was yeah.
It was pre-me.
Yeah.
However, in looking at their system, it's typical of the smoke capturing systems that many restaurants employed based on AQMD, Air
Okay,
Quality
right.
Management District regulations, which they have to pass through their inspections with the county health
All right.
department.
So that's something already covered in part is the
Correct.
emissions by a county level that
Correct.
they'll do during construction.
Which we will
essentially.
not authorize the commencement of the operation until we get final county approvals.
All right. Thank you. That's helpful. Appreciate
And
it.
part of our business license is that the fire department has to inspect it as well.
Right.
Councilmember Lowe, any further questions?
Following with that question, same question. So with the fire department, because of this fire burning kitchen, are there new fire sprinkler system needs to be installed in that whole building or in that facility because of this wood burning?
I'm not sure. I would have to look into see if there's an existing fire sprinkler, but I don't want to speak for the fire department, but I don't believe this would trigger that.
So it just fall under regular.
Correct. But that would go through plan check. So if plan check captures that anything that they're doing requires fire sprinklers based on our code, they're required to install those.
To install.
Correct. Correct.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
When the planning commission approved the CUP, was it only for the parking, for the alcohol consumption, and then restaurant included, right?
Everything was included. Well, the restaurant was already an established use, so we only went to them for the CUP for the parking and for the alcohol. The
Okay.
restaurant use was an established use.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to get exactly what we're deciding tonight. Other than what we had for dinner. There is an existing use of a restaurant there. The old CUP that set those limitations that purportedly cannot be found, is relevant only in certain respects, but because there's been an existing use of a restaurant there, that you're not looking at that as a limitation. Okay, so we are issuing a new CUP with respect to the parking.
Correct.
And that's the issue we're dealing with today.
Correct.
So the wood burning, the smell, all of that noise is not really material to our decision tonight. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and because that will be taken care of through our permitting process.
Our plan checking process, correct.
Yes. So, okay, so, thank you. Thank you, Director Figueroa. I'll bring it back to, oh my gosh, there's always. Yes, go ahead, Councilmember Lowe.
So for other restaurants in town, do they require some sort of, because I know the parking situation we have in town, do other restaurants require same type or different type of parking? Well, CUP for parking.
Yeah, the code is blind in terms of restaurants. It's all restaurants. However, it depends on the situation. Every space is different. Some spaces might have the parking to accommodate both takeout and indoor and exceeding the 25% threshold. And in most cases, though, in this city, you don't have the space. So it's really difficult to gain leases because of the limitations based on parking and based on what our code says you have to do in order to go in there.
So basically, they will request some sort of CUP.
Right, and it falls under the auspices of the planning commission, and the planning commission then determines if there's adequate parking or not. We, a couple of planning commissions ago, we had a yoga studio in Mission that went through the same process for parking, and Planning Commission found that there was enough
They did
parking.
look at the, of course, specific
Correct,
site, the parking
correct.
situation, I mean, correlating to the residents behind it and how busy,
They,
how.
the Planning Commission is really good at looking at site-specific conditions, both in terms of parking, surrounding uses, residential impacts, and so forth.
Thank you so much.
But can I ask a question? Yes, you may. Thank you. This has to do with the restaurant use. And I'm just trying to get my head around because the appellants are saying that the restaurant use has changed because of the size and the factors such as alcohol use, people will stay longer. So therefore that triggers, right, different parking than prior restaurant uses. If we're going to call the donut shop and Garnish, where you go in and you meet somebody for coffee and a croissant or whatever, that was the longest one that I could remember there. And it was not a restaurant really in the sense that this is going to be where you can go and have a glass of wine and pizza, or I'm sorry, chicken. My mind is on a different dinner, but it's going to be a different restaurant use, right? So my question, I guess, is, was Planning Commission aware of this? I know they're not aware of these past documents because what we're seeing before us that the appellants have introduced was not before Planning Commission, right? None of this they saw, first of all. But second of all, were they aware that it's not a 25% or 8 seats or less, and now they're going to have more, and more time will be spent there by people who are drinking their wine or having their beer with their dinner? You know, do you understand what I'm
Yes.
saying? It is not the same use as any of the past uses. There hasn't been an alcohol license, which you stated, as far as we
Right.
know, in that location. So nobody's enjoying a bottle of wine or a couple beers with their friends. So it's not the same as any of the past uses, as far as I'm thinking of it in a good way. But I'm just, but was Planning Commission aware of that? I'm trying to understand what was before Planning Commission, before we could decide whether we can affirm their decision. I don't know what they were thinking about. I think I listened to part of this, but I'm not sure. I remember it coming up and thinking that would be fun and I'd need to try it. But I don't remember the details of their decision-making, if they were informed of prior things like we are here today after the appellants put some of this forward. Do you understand?
Sure. So I'll try to answer that as best as I can. Obviously, I can't speak to what the planning commissioners were thinking of specifically. I can tell you what staff did mention and provided in the staff report. They were aware that the conditional use permit for the park room was specifically because an existing restaurant was expanding to have more dining area. Now, more means a couple more seats, but nevertheless, they were expanding the dining area. So they were well aware that the CUP was there because of that purpose. They were aware that there wasn't any alcohol in previous restaurants, and that's the reason why there was a conditional use permit before them. So there was a public hearing specifically because the dining area was going to increase the threshold, which meant that they needed to, meaning the planning commission, needed to determine if there was adequate parking or whether a parking study would be required to substantiate any increase in dining area. They found that the existing parking, both on-site and off-site, were adequate enough to support that restaurant as there were the previous 6 restaurants before. They also understood the alcohol aspect. The last alcohol request was last year for Apsara. They looked at the similar conditions, locations to nearby schools, residents, and so forth. The one issue that we discussed was that we included a condition to mitigate the concern of the police department, which was if they were to have outdoor dining, you know, what impact that would have potentially on children, school children walking by. We conditioned the project so that if they were ever to come before us with an outdoor dining permit, that it would have to be approved by the police department if it were to be approved for consideration.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure about the last part. So the police department then issues CUPs?
No. So if they were.
Are they involved?
Sure. So the concern was if there was outdoor dining
I understand.
specific to the restaurant, we would involve the police department in the review process of the outdoor dining permit. That is a director's approval. So if they were to come in with an application of that sort, the police department will review it and would, in conjunction with the community development department, review that application. So if the police department had any issues, essentially the community development department can deny the outdoor dining permit.
The direct, you can.
Yes.
Or whoever is the director.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't mean you personally, but if it comes before for the aspect, should they want to come forward with outdoor dining?
Correct, which they have not indicated they will come in for something like that.
Or you could approve it.
But it would be through, but we conditioned it so that the police department has a say in it. So it wouldn't just be me, it would be
Right,
me in
right, right,
conjunction with the police department.
I have a follow-up question. I know, isn't that, God, I'm such a hypocrite. The plan commission did have their menu though, right?
Yes.
And they had
same in
a
our
presentation
operations.
as to what was going to be operated there.
Correct.
And they still, they still found the.
In
Yeah.
in fact,
Okay.
one of the planning commissioners actually went to the site and saw the operations firsthand.
Went to their site in Pasadena.
Pasadena, correct?
I might imagine who that commission was. Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, I will bring it back to comment with the understanding that we have four options here. Approve, request a summary of evidence before the planning commission, directed back to the planning commission with or without any factors that they have to decide, or request a de novo hearing, which has to be set within 75 days unless they waive it. So those are our four options. I will start with Councilmember Cho. What are your thoughts on this matter?
Yeah, so just looking at what's in front of us, I can support what staff and planning commission has issued. I think they've had the pertinent information. It's unfortunate there's some stuff that we can't find, and it's unfortunate that both parties have to go through this. But if personally, for economic development in our city, I think we too often overlook Huntington Drive, all those parking spots as zero, like we don't account for any of that. And I often see open spaces when I drive down Huntington Drive. So I think that, in my opinion, can contribute fairly to the offsite parking for this one. Thank you.
Councilmember Shepherd Romey.
I appreciate what Councilmember Cho said and also all the work that staff put into this. I do think it is problematic that so much, in my mind, came forward after Planning Commission made their determination, and it's really just a rubber stamp in August. So, you know, in terms of, you know, approving the project. So I share the concerns of the appellants that perhaps knowing prior uses and understanding the CUPs as represented by a staff memo were different, and that area is extremely impacted. I mean, the UPS store, for example, is crazy because now that's where everybody goes to return their Amazon packages. If anything, it has gotten much worse, the parking in that small, in front of that small unit. And I would love for this restaurant to be anywhere but there. But I just don't, I would personally think that we should remand it for them to consider again with all the information that's come forward. They probably will not change their decision, but I just think that they should be fully informed, and appellates should have the opportunity to speak to them about the issues that this raised, the lack of documentation, because that is a city mission. And I think we need to take responsibility for that and act in the best way forward. And I apologize to the original restaurant owners and think that I want to go try your place in Pasadena and hopefully sometime soon here. But I do think we have to do the process and fully inform our commissioners. And I don't think it was done in this regard. And it is the responsibility of the city to do that. Thank you.
Councilmember Lowe.
Yeah, and well, as much as I'd love to see another good restaurant, a good business coming to our town, and also take money back from Pasadena, for example, we all spend our money, and I do share the same thought. I would love to welcome you to our town, but I just feel that there's some information still missing for our planning commission to fully look at. Not like I'm objecting it. I just need to be more comfortable with everything I see before I say yes to it. Or maybe like Councilwoman Shepherd said that another location in our town, if you would like to consider it, I surely would love to see you being in San Marino, opening your new restaurant here. But for this particular location, I would love to see more information. Not like I'm against it. I just need to see more information to be comfortable, to fully, comfortable with it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Well, I apologize that we don't have all the files from 89, but it's not the current staff's fault. And I always want to see more business on Huntington Drive. That was my one of my goal since year one. Yeah, so I'm gonna support this because we've been having restaurants there for years. So is there a Kui? No Kui? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you all. I too am bothered by the fact that the city doesn't have this information. However, I'm also bothered by why this information that was within the appellant's information was not supplied to the planning commission at the time, whether it was held back or that information obviously was out there and it was available to everyone because the appellant was able to get it. So I'm not so bothered by the fact that the information that was apparently not argued before the planning commission should require us to go back before the planning commission. That just doesn't bother me. I look at this as they decided based upon they had the menu, they knew what they were going to serve, they've heard what the proponents of the project had to say. They knew that it was going to be part takeout. They knew the amount of seats that are going to be there. They knew that it was going to be wood burning. They knew the trash. They knew all the relevant factors without respect to the fact that there was, what the actual pre-uses were. So I have no problem saying that, hey, that's great. That's just a lot of noise. Let's focus on what's important here. The planning commission looked at all the appropriate facts to make the determination that there was sufficient parking there to issue the CUP. So I'm in favor of just affirming the planning commission's decision because I know the additional information that is being requested is not going to change the facts. So I will entertain a motion on this item, and the motion should address what the four options are. Whether or not we affirm, require a summary of all the evidence, refer the matter back to planning commission, or instruct the city clerk to set a hearing, which we will deal with de novo. Does anybody have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to adopt City Council Resolution number 2330, affirming the adoption of Planning Commission Resolution number PCR 2308, approving the conditional use permit number CUP 2205 at 2277 Huntington Drive to determine the parking requirement and to provide alcohol sales and consumption at a proposed restaurant El Dorado.
I will second the motion. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe,
No.
Councilmember Shepherd Rami, Vice Mayor Wong, Mayor Tall.
Yes, the motion passes. Thank you for your time and effort, and good luck in the next step. Item number 3.
I was excited.
She's worried they'll spit in her food.
Don't worry, I'll do the takeout for
All
you guys.
over it,
I'll take out.
I'll let her under Gretchen Wong. Is that okay?
Okay. I'm sorry. Why don't we take a short 5-minute break?
Recording stopped.
No, this is a beer and wine license. That's actually hard liquor. Yeah.
I'll text you and then you know how great the chicken is.
Why don't we get it for one of our closed sessions?
Right there.
Okay.
It's the only time I'll be allowed to have it.
Item number 3, approval of the 3-year professional service agreement with OpenGov for electronic procurement and contract management platform services in a total amount of $71,200 was
Recording in
Director,
progress.
Chung, you have the presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members.
Excuse me, there'll also be a second presenter, Director Shaw.
It is a joint effort between Director Shaw and I regards to this request. The staff report before you is for your approval for a 3-year agreement with OpenGov for an electronic procurement and contract management platform for a total amount of $71,200. Switching over to the OpenGov platform will provide 4 important upgrades that are currently not available in our current procurement platform. Number 1, it's workflow. Currently, the process is really siloed between the departments. There's really no central location, and OpenGov will provide that centralized location where it'll track the bidding process from the beginning, evaluation, all the way to the contract and insurance certificate process. Number 2 is really unlimited user licenses, whereas currently we only have 3 licenses that we pay for our current procurement process. Also, number 3, it will provide a larger vendor pool, which will provide us better potential bidding pricing for our goods and services. And lastly, number 4, which I personally am excited for, is the contracts and insurance tracking and automation process that we'll be able to implement through OpenGov. And really that right now the process is manual. Various departments have contract certificates. We're asking city clerk for contract copies. Insurance certificates sometimes expires, and it's really manual process for the staff to reach out. Whereas OpenGov has an automated system where 30 days before it will reach out to the vendor will post the certificate right onto the website. Staff does not have to be involved, and it really saves staff a tremendous amount of time. The current platform that we use is Planet Bids, and we've been using it since 2014, and we budget annually $8,400 for that platform. And due to its limitations, we've only been using the bidding module of that platform. Due to those limitations, Director Shaw and I wanted to look for other platforms. And typically we wait for the budget process, but this is really out of the ordinary budget process, being that we didn't want to wait another 6 months to implement the system. We did ask Planet Bids to provide a pricing for a full procurement system or platform. And we took a demo and we were very underwhelmed. It was limited, and it actually was going to cost us about $3,000 more to implement their full system than going with OpenGov as well. Also, staff did research and look out to other platforms as well. And either A, we didn't hear back from them, or B, the platform was just rather too large for the scope that San Marino needed for procurement and contract tracking purposes. Overall, staff believes that city will get a robust platform through OpenGov. It will reach a larger pool of vendors for better pricing. And lastly, save staff time on tracking contracts and insurance through automation. With that, I'll turn it over to Director Shaw for her input on procurement on the capital side as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Chung, and good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council members. As Director Chung just shared, we worked collaboratively to evaluate our current procurement platform with Planet Bids and to compare it to other available procurement platforms on the market that could also provide a comprehensive system to incorporate the contract management features we just discussed. Although I share Director Chung's excitement for the automation of the contract and insurance tracking components of OpenGov, I'm most excited to transition to the procurement platform for the more robust features it offers compared to Planet Bids. In particular, OpenGov will provide 2 significant upgrades that will streamline our procurement workflow process, making it more efficient and save staff time. In terms of their solicitation development, It's actually fully incorporated into their platform. So the development of RFPs and bidding documents currently by staff is considerably a time-intensive exercise in the procurement process. OpenGov's proprietary automation will allow staff to build solicitations entirely within their platform. It's through a guided step-by-step process with project-specific questions, utilizing our own templates that we will build with their team that will also eliminate the potential for copy-paste errors, back and forth emailing of documents, multiple versions. It just eliminates all those issues because everything's fully housed within their platform and streamlines that process for us. It also allows staff to piggyback off existing templates from their extensive solicitation library, or to leverage their built-in national cooperative search feature. So we could easily search other contracts if we're putting out a similar project to compare scopes and help build our own, bring in what is valuable or useful to us, and modify it to fit with our needs. So it significantly makes that process easier for us. In terms of evaluation and awards, the platform also enables e-bidding and online public bid openings, which are still compliant with sealed bidding requirements for government agencies, while automating and streamlining the bidding process for our vendors, which should encourage more vendor response to our solicitations, and also hopefully better pricing in a more competitive market. Staff will also be able to leverage the bid tabulations within the software because everything's being submitted electronically, eliminates all the paper. We can do side-by-side scoring evaluations and immediately send back solicitation results within a click. So it really overall improves that process. So overall, the OpenGov platform is not only superior in the features it offers compared to our current procurement platform, but will also significantly improve our entire procurement and contract management process for staff, saving time through the consolidation of the entire procurement lifecycle in the one platform from development through contract closeout. And considering our significant, as we're all aware of, our significant infrastructure package, the number of contracts and RFPs and bids we will be putting out and have been putting out and continuing to put out to improve our community, it will definitely help our staff a lot in consolidating and streamlining this process for us to be able to deliver all the projects we need to put out. So therefore, staff recommends the City Council approve a 3-year professional services agreement with OpenGov for electronic procurement and contract management software services, and appropriate funds in the amount of $28,217 in support of this agreement. This concludes our presentation, and both Director Chung and I are available for any questions.
Thank you very much, directors. Councilmember Shepherd-Rami, do you have any questions? Councilmember Lowe, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Councilmember Cho, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Vice Mayor?
No, thank you.
I've taken a look online at this, and we're only, OpenGov has the variety of packages. We're only using 2 of their packages or 2 of their things. We won't be using other parts of what they have to offer at this point, at least.
Not at this time.
Okay.
There is a component that they do offer for asset management.
Right.
So that may be a future component, that whether it's theirs or another software we might bring forward during the next budget cycle.
Don't get excited.
But not at this time.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions. I will open it up for public comment. Is there anyone in the room that isn't staff that would like to ask a question? Seeing none, is there anyone online?
No.
I'll bring it back for comment. Councilmember Shepherd-Rami.
This sounds like a huge time saver in terms of staff. I'm aware from discussions with Director Chung that, and now as well, Director Shaw, that our current situation is not helpful and very frustrating. So I appreciate that you went out and did the legwork and also explained it so well that we didn't have questions, but this seems like a brilliant move that'll benefit the staff and help our city ultimately get more projects done and efficiently in a number of ways, the bids to do that. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Councilmember Lowe, do you have any questions?
Questions, but I
Or
think
any further comment? I'm sorry.
I think this would be a great system to have. Thank you.
Councilmember Cho, do you have any comments?
No, I like that, add to efficiency.
Vice Mayor?
No comments. Thank you.
I have nothing other than a great thanks. This seems like a great opportunity for us. I will entertain a motion. Okay, then,
Well, I can read it. Go.
I
don't know where mine is. All right, we'll do this.
let's see, this is item 3.
I move to approve a 3-year professional service agreement with OpenGov for electronic procurement and contract management software service in a total amount of $71,200. Authorize the city manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the city and appropriate an additional $28,217 to account number 101-09-4150-0500 other contract service IT.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second by Councilmember Lowe. Could I please have roll call?
Councilmember Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd Rami, Vice Mayor Wong,
Yes.
Mayor Tall.
Yes. We're now moving to the consent calendar part of our meeting. Do any council members wish to pull any items from consent? As a reminder, you could still vote no on any specific item without pulling it. Councilmember Lowe, do you have anything you want to pull? Councilmember Cho? Councilmember Shepherd Rami?
No, nothing. Thank
Vice
you.
Mayor? I have nothing. I will entertain. Oh, are there any public comments regarding this matter? Is there anyone in the room that would like to make a public comment? Just step forward, go to the microphone and state your name, and see none. Is there anyone online?
There is not.
Is there anyone online, period? Okay, I will entertain a motion in a second to approve the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendars, items number 4 through 9.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd Rami,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wong,
Yes.
Mayor Tall.
Yes. Do we have any written communications or public writings for distribution?
We do not.
Is there anyone wishing to speak at this time about matters that are not on the agenda? As a reminder, City Council is not legally allowed to engage in discussion on any item that is not on either of the agendas. Seeing none, is there anyone online? No?
No.
Okay. Getting to council, is there any matter that you would like to see on any future agenda? Councilmember Lowe?
Actually, there's one thing mentioned about last Friday about the push type of app, the CD app that we can, if we can embed into. I know we have an app right now, but that's just mainly for checking the permits and that process. But if we can fully expand that into a more functional type of city app to provide information or to notify, for notifications or kind of two-way communication between the residents and the city government. And I'm just like to see maybe a possibility of developing that.
So basically have staff look at whether we could improve our existing app to include under other parts of the application.
Yes, and then if they will require additional resource, for example, a staff like a school site, then they have a IT or designated IT person for that, or just.
Are there two other council members that would like us to do that? I would like us to see if we can improve our app.
Sounds like a standby.
Standby? Oh, is there anyone else?
No, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Look into it. I don't
Look
know.
into it. So it's not really a matter for the agenda as much as it is to take a look at it and bring it back in the future regarding, well, why don't you discuss this matter with Councilmember Lowe and see what he comes up with about what he would like to see done, and then run it by the other council members. So, anybody, Councilmember Lowe, do you have anything else you'd like to see
No,
back?
nothing.
Councilmember Shepherd Rami,
No, thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor? None? I have nothing at this time. Before we go to adjournment, I know that our city manager had something that he said he would take about 2.5 seconds.
Half seconds. Mr. Mayor, I was remiss to mention during my comments earlier, and I was reminded by Ms. Tibbet, this is the last full meeting of your service as mayor. We are going on hour 4 today in meetings for all the council. And on behalf of the staff and the community, I just wanted to thank you for your leadership. Over the course of the last 4 months that I've been here, staff could not be more grateful for your involvement and your direction. And so we just want to provide you kudos and thank you for rounding out another term as mayor. We'll see this as a ceremonial issue next month, but as this is your last full term for a meeting and a long one at that, we as staff wanted to extend our gratitude for the past year for your leadership and stewardship through this meeting. So
Well, I
thank you.
really appreciate the effort the staff has made to get things done that has been on our priority list. And that you've all been very welcoming and communicative. And I have to say, it's been it was more fun this time around. I don't know why. It was just more fun. And I really appreciate it. Everybody's. Yeah.
Are you sure there won't be any more special meetings?
Well, no, well, not during my term.
I don't
Not
know.
during my term.
I
There
don't
might be
know.
a couple under your term. But I really appreciate, and especially, making sure that people got back out in the community. It was really an effort. It was a full team effort. Police, fire, parks, rec department, especially, all those working here at City Hall. And it made, I think, this time more enjoyable because it was a community, to see the community back. And hopefully we won't have to go back into COVID at all. And if you decide to issue a mandate at any time in the future, please make sure that it's within a year and a month that you decide that. Right, Stephen?
13 months.
Okay, is there anyone wishing to make a special adjournment? No? Seeing none, I will adjourn the November